Who put game? How do I get to my question?
You see right there where it says quick poll? See?
Oh.
Go there.
Where my squad at? I'll put down squad. Look at that game.
Alright, I got 24 in there. We're starting to get our answers in. I'll start in 30 seconds. Get your answer in or you're losing out on this part of your active collaboration grade.
Who put?
Oh, somebody put down a bad word.
I don't know. How many lights are on? How many lights are on what? How many lights are on the ceiling?
Hey man, who asked me that dumb question?
No. How many lights are on the
How many ducks are there?
Alright. So I've already got it set up. Man, 2 of us say IDK like we've never thought in our lives, or have 3 other people to talk with in our small groups. Guys, IDK is not a response. Let me stop poll. So what's the most common response up there? What do we need? Yeah, that's it, guys. It's not how many, it's not a number, it's not a category. What makes a question statistical or not is, do the responses have variability? Jamie, you good? Yeah? What?
Somebody put down X.
Yeah, I saw. I can find out who it is right now, but I don't need to embarrass people like that. Guys, stop putting IDK.
That was
Again. But you have 3 people in your group you could ask. Did anybody, quick question, you 3, did anybody put variability for this response? Maddie? You did too, Trent? Aiden, did you?
I forgot.
You forgot? But see how you have 2 people you could have talked with? Guys,
They were busy goofing off.
pretty sure you didn't even ask them.
Because they were too busy goofing off.
No. No, sir. No, sir. Because
Mainly her.
no, sir. Joey, that's not true. Because the reason I know that is, in the last 2 minutes, when I said, hey, you better make sure you get your answer in, this room was almost silent, which means no one was goofing off or talking or whatever. You could have asked her. You could have asked them.
I already put my answer in that time.
Okay, so really quickly, I do want to point out, I have it set up so you can resubmit your answers. Notice how the poll question didn't get taken up until just a second ago? You could have resubmitted.
How?
Stop finding excuses. Do your best to learn and grow. Yes, Jamie.
Does variability mean you'll have more than one answer?
Yes. That means if there's variability in the responses, that means that there's more than one possible response. Okay? So, that matters because we are picking up here with the understanding check. Now I need you to hear me very clearly. I have already made scans of your understanding check. I'm not taking your understanding check back. So this is your understanding check to take whatever notes you need to grow and learn to the best of your ability. So instead of playing around with a ruler in hand, actually we go ahead and take that ruler up. Let's have a pencil in hand. Let's have the understanding check out. And let's also even have our scoring rubric out so we can know what different things mean. Oh, excuse me. Hold up. Hold the phone.
I have my phone on me right now. It's in
What
there.
happened?
Six. Thomas isn't here. 9. Coda's not here. Kyla, no phone? You didn't have one yesterday either, right? That's right. Jaden.
I was on the phone to keep my home. I for real. She told me that last
Jay.
night. She had yelled at me because I ain't put my stuff in my room. Oh, so she took it from me. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. 15. Brooklyn. Still broken, right? Is that what happened to yours? Tomorrow's not here. Devin. Oh. I know Devin has his. I laugh because his zipper will not come undone, so he can't get his phone out. I'm so sorry, dude. So, you know, that's a weird thing. Jordan, come on, man. Thank you, sir. When I started doing this, you should have known.
I ain't bring my phone.
You don't have your phone on?
Hey, bro, you got 2 more pockets at the bottom. Go ahead, go down one time.
Man, these are zippers. These not pockets. Come on.
I was
now.
saying that's decorative. Why would you actually put a pocket there? You don't have it at all?
I let mine at the crib, you know what I mean?
Wesley?
What's the story?
My phone back. Oh yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's dead. If it's on, you
that
put it
black
up.
cat. Yeah.
Janiyah?
My phone, my
Jerry?
look, pull that black cat. Tell us what AK you trying to
DeAndre's not here.
my private plane is
Wow, that is surprising. That is the day we are having. But Wesley, Janiyah, get your phones up, please. Put it up, thank you. Alright, sorry for distracting, getting us off topic. Let's get to work though. We're going to have an understanding check discussion, and we're going to look at data, looking at different graphical representations, and the best measures of center and spread. So first off, as a little bit of a preview, what are the 3 graphical representations we have studied? Box and whisker plots or box plots. Dot plots and histograms. There we go. So those are the 3. Histograms, box plots, and dot plots. And Jamie, don't stress it too much. That's what we did over the last 2 days. You'll be alright. Okay? By the way, don't forget, the YouTube videos are there. They're already posted. Except for today's, because I'm recording it right now. Just search my name.
Cash out.
If you search my full name, Nathan Kinney, it'll pop up. Look for the geometry playlist. The other thing I will say is this. I have 4 tutoring sessions every single week. If you look at the class newsletter that I sent you and I sent it to your parents, it has my tutoring hours in there. So you can find those 2 things. But I have 4 tutoring sessions every single week. What is today? Wednesday? I have one this afternoon, and I also have one Friday morning. Those are the next 2 that I have. And then what are the measures of center that we've already talked about? Mean, median, and mode. Okay, those are the 3. We'll talk more about spread today. So don't forget, we should have out our understanding check and this scoring rubric because you will see, and I'll turn the lights back on in a second, but I want you to see this rubric clearly. The numbers do mean something. First off, if you're looking at a 0 or a 1, I'm not saying that you don't know anything, but I am saying that I see little or no evidence of your understanding or the procedural fluency, right? So there's 2 parts of mathematics at all times. A couple of the things I asked you to do were to write questions, right? Statistical question with numerical data, I think, okay? The procedure would be you correctly writing a question. The conceptual understanding, remember I asked you to justify, to explain why. That's the conceptual understanding side of it. Jerry, you okay back there? Okay. Did you get an understanding check back? Did you get the understanding check back? No? Remember earlier when I was asking, did anybody not get theirs back because there was no name on it? Could that have been you? Actually, I guess I should quickly, while I'm just thinking about it. Okay? So, remember that 0 to 1 just means that I am not seeing the evidence of your understanding. A 2 is saying that there's limited evidence of your understanding. 3, I see clear evidence of your understanding. A 4 is clear, consistent, and convincing evidence. Now, if you're seeing zeros and ones on your paper, don't get frustrated and don't give up. This is a time for you to take notes. Because what happens when I get your test? I need you to listen. Listen. Okay, hold on. What's going to happen when you take a test in my class? Hey, Joey. If you need to step out, but don't do that. So, what's going to happen when you take a test, Winter? If you do better, just better. So remember, this is a learning opportunity. I don't call this a quiz for a reason. A quiz goes in the gradebook and it's done. This was simply an understanding check. So if you're seeing zeros and ones, that means you have a lot to learn. You may need to come into tutoring. You may need to go watch some videos. You may need to take some notes as we go over this. If you're seeing 2s, same thing. You're looking at lots of 3s and 4s, you have pretty clear evidence of your understanding and things like that. Now, please pay attention to this because this is how this breaks down. If you see a P or a C or a D, they each mean something different. If you have a D there, that just means that you're missing details as a part of your justification. Details that I thought were important enough that you should have written about. If you have a P, that means that you made an error in the process. Maybe you made an error in writing the question, but you explained what you're supposed to do well. Well, the P, it means that you made a procedural error. A C means that you are making an error in your justification, an error in your conceptual understanding, right? So every single section has C's, P's, and D's, and that's what that is meaning, whether you have a procedural error, you did it wrong, you're missing details, or you have a misunderstanding in the concept, okay? So each of those things mean something different, and pay attention to that. And I want to show you all some of the responses that I have right here. This was a student in class. If you don't write anything there, can I give you any feedback to improve? No. Tell me something. Anything. Give me a guess. Write about what you can or can know. Literally a 0 minus, what is that on the rubric?
Nothing.
Solution or response is incorrect, and there's no attempt to justify the response, or there's just no attempt. You can't score anything if you don't try. Okay? And notice I even made that note. Can't give feedback to help without responses. I'm here to help you grow and learn. There's another student, right? Here, this student at least circled the first 2, but do I have any, but I will point out, the third one, or the 5th one, E, was also a correct answer. Do I have any reason to know why they picked A and B? No. So it wasn't fully correct, and I don't know why that person put what they put. So 1, it's a 0 minus because they didn't justify. 2, can I give them any feedback? No. And without feedback, it's hard to grow and learn. Okay, from there, so let's look at these 2. Again, on average, how many kids at Hillcrest High School like shorts more than pants? I think is what that says. Well, first off, that is incorrect. That'd be categorical data. It is statistical, but it's categorical, not numerical. And do I have any reasoning here? Again, if you have a 0 minus, the solution or response is incorrect, and there's no attempt to justify. You just have to tell me why. You can get an answer wrong and give me some level of reasoning. If that person had just said, all right, it's statistical because different people will say different things, does that tell me they understand something? Listen to that question again, because we're clearly not paying attention. If that person had said, this is statistical because different students will like different things, would that tell me that they understand something about statistical questions? Yes. That's all the reasoning I would need. You just have to tell me what it means to be statistical. All right, so let's start looking at some other types of responses. This student crushed it. What does a 4 mean?
That's the best, ain't it?
It is not quite the best. Look at the rubric. There's a purple sheet of paper, which, Jamie, you don't have it because, and Addison, you don't, did I give you the purple rubric yesterday?
Oh, I wouldn't
The
use it.
solution.
Okay, I'm gonna have to print out that rubric for y'all before the end of class. I'll print it though. Okay, so what does a for mean?
Clear, concise, and convincing evidence.
Okay, so the solution is valid and it's well justified. It's just missing some small things. So 4 is not the very top. What is the top? 4 plus, right? So a 4 is good, right? That's pretty darn good. So here's the only thing. On average, how many pets, what percent of pets, what is, these are things that they're noting a little bit, but right here, not it, but each is statistical because they've made a claim and they're giving evidence for that claim. It is a question that has more than one answer. The only thing that I wish the student had done would have been to use that word variability as possible. Variability is possible in responses. That's it. That's the only thing from a 4 to a 4 plus. And notice, because they missed that detail, I was able to give that person that feedback. But you had to recognize, to be statistical, variability was possible in the responses. That's why A, B, and E are correct. Now, looking at most of the scores that people had, we need some more practice with this. So we'll do some bell ringers with this moving forward. That's actually why I created the bell ringer that I did today. Does that make sense though? Like kind of what I'm looking for now? Looking at these different things? Notice it's not anything magical. It's just saying, hey, this is all about statistical questions. Here's what it means to be statistical. So here's my answers. Tell me why. So here's a couple of other students, right? On number 2 and 3, this student earned a 2. You see how when this person had incorrect ideas, I was able to note that and tell them how to fix it? Can I do that if you don't explain why?
No.
But right here, asking a direct question to you, ooh, that's important to note because that's not going to be a statistical question, that's going to be a survey question. I didn't want survey questions. I want a statistical question. Notice how I even said over here, rewording to how many video games does the typical student own? That would make it a statistical question. Because do different students own different numbers of video games?
Yeah.
Yes. Would that be numerical?
Yes.
The responses would be a what?
Numerical.
Number, counting how many? So notice, what does a 2 mean? Look again, there's something specific that I'm looking for y'all to recognize on the rubric for a 2.
Solution and response is partly valid, indicating some understanding, knowledge, a good start.
It's a good start. It's invalid, it's not correct. Notice, is this a statistical question that will require the collection of numerical data? It's a survey question, or it's a survey question, right? So that's incorrect, and I know it's only a 2, but is that pretty high up on the rubric compared to a lot of the other stuff below it? They've shown me good evidence of their understanding, and so I recognize that. All right? So number 3, same issue here. Well, a couple of actual issues. Non-statistical question. If it's non-statistical, that means that there is no what? Variability. If we're talking about chocolate or vanilla, is there variability?
Yes.
Very much so. And then again, it says use, so that would be survey. And so I'm able to give that kind of feedback here. Learn from your mistakes, grow and get better. Notice here, right, for this student, I'm going to turn lights on so that we can make notes if we need to, which, Ethan, we shouldn't be drawing on paper. We should be making notes. Thank you, sir. So here, right, how many students in this class have siblings that want to or go to Hillcrest High School? I get why this person was thinking this. Notice they say how many students, right? And they note that that's numerical data. But let me ask you a question. What would be the response, right? If I go to, or one, what would be a survey question here to try to answer this question? Emily?
Do you want to go to Hillcrest?
Not do you want to, but do you have any siblings? Do you have siblings that want to go to Hillcrest High School, right? Okay, so if I say, hey Jamie, do you have siblings who want to go to Hillcrest High School? What's the answer? How would you respond? Huh?
It would vary.
Well, but my question to you is just, do you have siblings that want to go to Hillcrest High School?
No, because I don't have any siblings.
Oh, so you don't have any siblings, so that's a no. Anybody in here have siblings who either do go to or want to go to Hillcrest? Do we have variability in our responses there? So one, that is statistical, but the responses, were they categorical or numerical? They were categorical. I have siblings who want to go to Hillcrest High School. Or I have siblings who go to Hillcrest High School. That's a category. Even though the question here is how many do that, the response is a category. That's something we need to pay attention to. Hey Jaden, you have your understanding check out so you can make notes about how to improve your understanding? The understanding check, not the scoring rubric. Guys, if you don't have your understanding check out, it's hard to write down something to learn, right? Notice here, number 3, a non-statistical question that will require the collection of categorical data. First off, don't look at the feedback, just look at this 2D plus. What does a 2D plus mean? What's the big grouping for the scoring rubric? That means what? Hold on, pause, you're missing, we're going to get to that part in a second. What's the big grouping for 2s? What's the bold say? Right. If you score a 2 in any way, that's just meaning, hey, I see limited evidence of your understanding. Okay? But in 2D plus means you're looking at a 2 plus, which is what Maddie was reading a second ago. The approach or response is valid. You got the answer right, but I'm missing something. It's a D, so what am I missing? Or what's wrong? I'm missing details. What state has the biggest population in the U.S.? Okay, we have to look up the question, sure, but why is this non-statistical? There's only one correct answer, right? I don't know what the answer is, but there is one correct answer. It's non-statistical. The state that has the biggest population, is that a category or is that numerical data?
Numerical.
The state that has the biggest population?
Category.
That's categorical, right? So this answer was completely correct. They attempted to justify it, and I get why they're saying this. But you see how they're missing details that address non-statistical and categorical? That's what I need you to do. When you give me a response, tell me why it satisfies non-statistical and categorical. Good with that idea, Jaden? Whereas this student, 3D plus, remember a 3 plus, that's the higher end of clear evidence of understanding. Look how this person responded, right? On average, how many pencils do students at Hillcrest High School have? How many pencils can be averaged so the data is numerical? So they told me why it's numerical, right? That's also correct, but what are they missing? How do you know the question is statistical? Tell me that. Is that a statistical question?
Yes.
Do different students have different numbers of pencils?
Yes.
Yes, it's statistical, but tell me why. Same thing here. What color pants does Mr. Kinney have on? Yeah, the color pants I had on that day, it's not, well, 1, it can't be average, but 2, it's categorical because it's a color. Yes, Emily?
Is statistical and categorical the same thing? Because I think I'm doing this.
So what does it mean? And so this is actually a good breakdown, something else I have to say at the end. And this is why we have the bell ringer. What determines if a question is statistical or non-statistical? What determines the difference? Okay. The only thing that matters for it being a statistical versus non-statistical question is variability. Determined by variability in responses. What makes something, and so remember that's a type of question, but we can have numerical data. What makes data numerical?
It's measured.
So it's a number that can be
Measured.
measured and or averaged. So that's when the responses are numbers that can be measured or averaged. And then the other type of data is what? Categorical data. So the responses fit into what? Categories. So I'm glad you asked that question, especially because I'm sure someone else had that question. But if you were struggling with this, that might be a note that you want to make on this understanding check. Oh man, this is what makes a question statistical or non-statistical. This is what makes a data numerical or categorical. Are you taking notes at all, Ezra? Are you taking notes on this at all?
Yeah.
Have you put that pencil to your paper at all? Where? Show me.
That's not easy.
Didn't you already have this on?
No.
That's not yours. That's Coda's. Where's yours?
He's digging.
Okay, for the next one. Alright, so this is the last thing, and I want y'all to pay attention to this. So a couple of things. The dot plot was just kind of the start. This student earned a 1, so it's a little bit of evidence of their understanding. But right here, they made a claim. The average number of books read was 3. And they say the average number. But I want you to think about this. Average is or mean is a measure of what? Measure of center. Does this look like the center of that data? Does that look like the center of data? No? I did do the average. The average was 6.85. That was the average. You need to be careful about stuff like that. That's not evidence to me. That looks like someone just kind of wrote something. I need you to be careful about those things. Don't just say things. But, so I said, did you average? I don't think so. One of the things I think everyone should notice, what did I put underneath the dot plot? You need that title. What are these dots representing? Books read per person. So books, let's just say books read. Right? You need to have a title for all graphs to indicate what they're representing. And I'm going to come back to this one maybe. But I do want you to notice this was several students. Don't stress if this was you. Learn from this. Right? This was quite a few students. The way that we do a dot plot is we put a dot at 3 to indicate one of the people read 3 books. We put a dot at 7 to indicate that one of the people read 7 books. And the fact that there are 2 7s means that I would have 2 dots right on top of each other. That's how we do a dot plot. Okay? Again, there's a video on YouTube from Friday that covers this. So if you need to make that note to yourself on this understanding check, video from Friday. I think we also did it on Monday, but we did it on Friday for sure. So hopefully we learned from that. And do you notice, I want you to note right here, you see how that's a 1 minus? Very incorrect here. And this kinda is true, but because they at least gave me something, they were able to score higher than a 0 or a 0 minus. Tell me why. Why are you thinking this? I'm going to reward your thoughts. Alright, same thing here. Notes like this, right? So, I wasn't sure what this person was talking about. Group 3. I don't know. I would say that the most common number of books read was 8, which was 3 of those people read 8 books. But notice I was able to make the note here of just need an x-axis with dot plots. When did we have to start doing a y-axis? For what type of graph? The histogram was when we started to include a y-axis. We don't need that yet. And so remember, is what story does the data tell us? So I want you to think about it. What are the things that we have now talked about? Because I think this is the, oh no, here's one more. A little bit stronger, right? Oh, this was something, right? The mode for how many books the students have read is 8 books. That was the mode, meaning it was the most common number of books read. What other things could we have talked about here, though?
Middle,
The mode words. What else?
median,
You could have talked about the median number of books read. There's 11 students. So if you had just marked off, okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 5. So there's my median. Notice there's 5 below, 5 above. The median number of books read was 7. You could have averaged them. We should have talked maybe about how spread out it was. What was the range of this data set? Anybody? Range?
4 through 6.
Not 1 to 11. Now, we'll say 1 is the minimum number of books read, 11 is the maximum number of books read, but we're forgetting what it means to have range. We should probably look back at our, I thought we talked about it. Yeah, we did. It should have been under box plots or under the dot plots. We got to move on though, but range, remember that was your maximum minus the minimum. Didn't we talk about that yesterday? Thought we did. So the range here is 11 minus 1, which is 10. The range in the books is 10. Okay? So hopefully we understand a little bit better what I'm looking for on understanding checks. Again, I want you to notice it's not just, hey, here's a grade. In fact, there are no grades on here. It is a score that is tied to that rubric so that you get feedback on how well you understood it, at least from the evidence I see. And, hey, Ezra, I need you to calm down. And on top of that, what was it? There's something else to say. Oh, tell me the story. We got to make sure we're telling the story, and that I can give you feedback like this. Okay, so let's get back to the lesson that we were working on. We were almost done. Okay, so this is the.
Excuse me.
Sorry.
Yeah, what Geom?
We just went over them. The video will be on YouTube, so you can watch it there and get more information. Okay. Okay. All right. So with what we've been studying, we've already talked today about statistical versus non-statistical questions. We're trying to identify if data is numerical or categorical, and using surveys. That's the last lesson. I messed up on those objectives. My bad.
Excuse me.
Sir.
You need to turn this in.
No, sir. I already told you you don't need to turn that in. Because you need to learn. So you need to hold on to those notes so that you can learn. Okay. So we don't have forever to talk about this one. We're going to move through it somewhat quickly because we should have already done it. I've already collected it, made scans. Y'all need it back though, don't you? If you did not turn this in, make sure you get it out right now so you can take some notes on it. Nathan, Winter. I thought we did that one yesterday. Thought so. Kyla, Caitlin, Ethan, Maddie, Jamie, Devin. Can you pass this over to Devin? Jordan, and Peyton. Ezra, I need you to have this page out so that you can take some notes. Okay. So remember, what we're trying to do is this. number 5, or what is the question for all of these? Actually, sorry, Maddie, you just asked about number 4. Did we not finish number 4 yesterday? That's the previous page. I thought we did talk about it.
We did.
Yeah, school district wanted to determine how many students in the entire district scored above a 70. There's a whole lot of people, right? And we don't want percentages, so we're using a histogram, right? Histogram is what you would want for number 4. If there's a lot of data, you want histograms or box plots, but you're going to use histograms anytime you want to see actual values, dot plots, or box plots when we're looking at percentages, okay? So conclusions we can draw. We should already have something written here. So someone who turned theirs in and had an answer, what conclusion can you draw with this dot plot?
Curve.
Nathan?
Curve.
Huh?
Curve.
Curve?
Yeah.
But what's the conclusion? So here's what I need you to recognize. Yes, there's a curve. But I'm asking you what conclusion, what story is being told here? What can you learn from this graph? Lillian? Alright, so 3 is the median. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10. Ooh, I think it might be 3.5. Right there. But that's half, so you're really close. You're really close on that. The reason why it has to be 3.5 is, how many data points are there? 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So if there's 20, we need 10 and 10, right? So we need something right between 3 and 4. But very close, right? So is that part of the story? Is the median number of gold medals 1, 3? Is that the median? Or 3.5, the median is 3.5? That's a detail, that's something to learn. So median gold medals 1 is 3.5. That's a part of our story. That's something we would want to recognize. What else can we see very clearly from this graph? What story can we see in this dot plot, Emily?
The mode is 2 medals, because most people, the dot medals are 2. I don't know if modes are the...
See, I think you're going back to maybe how you were thinking about it on the understanding check. So notice what this actually means is 2 different people won 5 medals.
Oh, okay.
2 different people won 6 medals. So what's the mode for this data set?
Is it 1?
The mode would be 1, right? Most common number of medals is 1. Okay? And there's a lot of stories that you can find from this, but one of the things I would point out is, where are most of the data points found? Between 0 and 6, right? That's all grouped together, right? So most people won between 0 and 6 medals. Hey Brooklyn, it's hard to learn if we're asleep. Joey, you already have these papers in your backpack or in your notebook. Or not. Okay. Does anyone remember what we might call this person who won 14 medals?
Outlier.
Okay, but do we know for sure it's an outlier yet?
No.
No, so does anyone remember what I would call it?
Unusual.
It's an unusual aspect, but we just call it a potential outlier. We don't know it's an outlier yet, but we can say potential
I thought y'all said a liar.
outlier who won 14 medals. Okay? Potential outlier who won 14 medals. Yes, Jamie.
What time is it?
2:30. Why?
I got a headache.
Okay. You need to, I would bring water with you. Water does help hydrate and reduce the effects of headaches. But if you want to go grab a sip of water quickly, you can. Okay, so rain in Collinsburg, right? What is the story that we should hear from this or note from this?
Most months are between 2 and 3 inches.
The what?
Most months are between 2 and 3 inches.
Okay, the most number of months. This must be over, I would guess, 2 years. Because that's what? 8, 16, 22. Yeah, this is over 2 years. Notice how many months have it between 0 and 1 inches?
3.
3. So that's 3 months. How many months had between 1 and 2 inches? 5. That's 8 total. Between 2 and 3?
Yes,
8. So that's 16 months. Between 3 and 4 inches? 6. And between 4 and 5? 2. That's 24 months, right? So that must be over 2 years worth of data, right? So there's stories here that we should be able to recognize. The most common, the most common inches of rain was between 2 and 3 inches, and that was over 8 months, or 8 months had that. What is the maximum amount of rain that could have happened? Huh? 5 inches is the maximum amount of rain, right? Does anyone remember what we might call this kind of graph?
Bar chart.
Well, not a bar chart. Remember, those bars are touching and the data is numerical, so it's a histogram. But what I mean is the shape. I would say it's not perfect, but does that look pretty similar on both sides? Okay, so the distribution, that might be something to add here. So distribution of rain in inches is roughly symmetrical. Have I talked about if it's not roughly symmetrical? Like skewness? I haven't mentioned skewness yet. Let's talk about that briefly. Andrew? Okay, really quickly, if I were to draw a curve over this, bless you. You see how it kind of has a hump here and it's skewed and it goes out to the right? Is that symmetrical? Bless you. That's not symmetrical. Taylor, eyes up here. Brooklyn up here. Okay, guys, I need your eyes up here. Wesley up here. This is not symmetrical, right? The tail is further to the right. We would call this skewed right. All that means is that the tail is longer to the right. Aiden, did you get that down? So we say the distribution is skewed right for that. So I'm just making one up. Any guesses what we'd call that curve though? It's skewed to the left. The tail is to the left, so it is skewed to the left. That's it. Okay? So we have roughly symmetrical, we have skewed left, and we have skewed right. For now.
I'm confused what they're called left and right.
It's all about the tail.
Oh, so it's the tail that's determining the direction.
Correct.
I thought it was the hump determining the direction.
Right, but that's why I put it right here. It's the tail is longer to the right here, so it's skewed right. The tail is longer to the left, so it is skewed left. Make sense? Okay. So that's a quick note there. And so boxplots are really nice to interpret data. What's the median for this data set?
Two.
For this boxplot here? Huh?
5 and less.
Right, what's the median? 11, right? There's my median right there. Meaning that half of the volunteers worked how many hours per week? Or half of them worked more than how many hours per week? Half worked more than 11. Half worked less than 11, right? Okay. What is the lowest 25% work? Between 4 and 9, isn't that 25% right there? The highest 25% works between 14 and 26 hours, right? So that box plot's great for those percentiles, or the 25%, the quartiles. Okay? And so, those are some things we could have said there. What would be the shape of that box plot? Okay, so it is asymmetrical, but that means it has skewness. Which direction?
Right.
You see how here's the median, and that tail is longer to the right? It's skewed right. Yes, Maddie?
So, like, how do you call it? What did you call it?
Skewness?
Yeah, so does skewed work for every graph? Like, does it work for dot plots, histograms?
Yes. So, yeah, it's just a matter of what's the longer tail. Now, remember, if it's roughly symmetrical, it doesn't have skewness. Right? If it's roughly symmetrical, then it doesn't have skewness. Okay, so I'll let you finish taking those notes while I pass out what we're starting on today, for the new lesson we have today. So what we're starting today builds on the last few days. If you want to take the staple out, I would recommend that, because it's easier to put in a notebook without the staple there. It allows you to flip back and forth easily.
Oh.
Okay. So we're going to look more. By the way, guys, it's going to be hard if you do it page by page. Look, take the staple, undo it, so that it lifts out nice and easily, right? So bend it out like that, and then just pull the staple if that's what you're doing. Nothing had to tear. Okay?
Excuse me. Where's the please?
Oh, she was talking.
Okay.
Well, please.
Still, we're being respectful. Did I only give y'all 3?
I got here, please.
Wait, it's mine.
Sorry, I thought I get to that 4. Alright.
You said please.
Hey, Jamie. Yes, sir.
You want me to throw this away?
If you just leave it on the desk and don't knock, actually, yeah, if you leave it on the desk, I'll even sweep, I'll take care of it. We gotta move on.
Can you use the stapler?
No, sir. Put it in your notebook in order.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
You still never gave me a notebook.
notice, what is lesson 2 all about? Skewed reality, right? Skewness. Because here's the thing. We've already talked about the fact that there's 3 different measures of center. What are they? Mean, median, mode. I'll go ahead and tell you this. We rarely use mode. Get used to not using mode. The 2 most common are mean and median. And there are measures of center that go with mean and median, but also mean and median are mean and median have their times when they are best to use. So it all deals with skewness. And so what this lesson is all about is determining the better measure of center and spread for a data set. Hold on to that. This lesson is all about determining the best measure of center and spread for a data set. Did you find the 4th one? I was saying, I thought I had put 4. Okay. And it all ties into skewness. So here's our objectives. You need to hold on to these objectives and pay attention to them. You need to be able to calculate and interpret measures of center, meaning mean and median. Calculate and interpret those. Determine the best measure of center for a data set. Calculate and interpret measures of spread. You may not know these terms yet, but what are they? What are the two measures of spread we're going to talk about? It's on the board. Standard deviation and IQR, right? Those are the two measures of spread that we'll look at. And then we're going to actually learn how to identify outliers with this lesson. All that being said, so we're going to consider each of these three displays. Without doing any calculations, predict whether the mean or the median will be greater for the data set represented by each display. Indicate your predictions by marking and labeling each measure of center on the number lines of the dot plot, the box and whisker plot, or within one or more bins of the histogram. So for example, you don't have to be right. I just need somebody, without doing calculations, to just come and draw where they think the median would be for the dot plot. It's part of our active collaboration. I just need someone to come and make a prediction. Come on, Nathan. Jordan, you want to come up here and try the mean? All right, grab a different color and identify where you think the mean might be. Okay? Okay, so draw a vertical line there. No. A vertical line, bud. You said at 70, right? Draw a vertical line if you think that's where the median is. Draw that mean up there. All right, grab a seat, Nathan.
So, what's it called?
Mean.
The mean.
Okay, so draw a vertical line where you think the mean might be.
Class, I'm gonna ask y'all.
No, I asked you. You volunteered for this. Y'all go ahead and draw where you think the mean and median might be on your paper. Remember, you have colored pencils and markers in your boxes. You're interested. Just make a prediction.
Okay. Right here. Wait, no. I think you can do. I don't know why.
Alright, so again, we're just making a prediction based on these things. So, we have a prediction for our median. And I would probably write median above it.
Okay.
And we have a prediction for our mean. Right here. So what do y'all think? Possible? Say again. Both? Let's start with median. Do we think the median might be likely? Probably. How many data points are below it? 5 below? And there's 3 above, but there's 4 data points right here. So yeah, that might be median. Right? So where do we think that might be the mean?
Yeah.
Just yeah?
Yes, sir.
Emily's thinking no. She's not sure. I hear someone saying no over here.
No, she said yeah.
I said, I don't know.
So I will say this, and you can do whatever you want in a second, but earlier, Jordan, you did say you think it's kind of in the middle, right? So it's kind of roughly splitting up the data. It's the middle of the data. I will say this, you see how there's like 7 data points over here? I would think that it might not be that far over to the left, maybe here. Now, what would I have to do to actually calculate it? Add them all up and divide by how many there are. We're not trying to do that right now, but my guess is you're probably right that it is to the left of the median, but I just wouldn't think it's that far to the left. Okay?
So close.
Yeah, I would say so. Where do you think the median would be? Actually, let's do this. Take 2 minutes. You don't have to be accurate. Make a prediction for where you think the mean and median would be for these 2 graphs. Go. Talk to your small groups. Actively collaborate. 2 minutes.
The median is in the middle.
You think I'm going to?
Huh? Similar names. What are you saying? Talk to the group.
I bring hot sauce with me.
Man, it's because you put your head every day. Head down every day. That's all it means. Sometimes it changes. Sometimes you head down. Try to learn something. I don't know what else you thought would happen if you just talk to the class. Well, weirdly enough, you try with me, you can pass my class, but you're not trying.
I want the hot. I want to try the hot cheese.
Hold on, sorry, I just checking Mark Anton.
It must have gave you a license.
Hold on, I gotta mark attendance.
I need a massage.
Alright, I need one person from group 6 to make, nope, I already had group 6 come up. One person from group 7, draw the median, or what y'all as a group decided for the median on the histogram. Someone from group 1, draw what you think is the mean for the histogram. Group 3, one person for the median on the box plot. And group 4, one person for the mean on the box plot. No one has started to move. Y'all decide who's coming up here. It's a group decision. Let's go. Go. Say again. Say again. That's what we're predicting it to be, yes. Because remember, a median separates the bottom half from the top half. So that made sense. Okay. Okay. Which one did I tell y'all to do? You're doing that one? So let's go. I'm about to make a decision. One of you three. I'll say this other than Lillian, because Lillian talks all the time. Alright, then go. I know I can decent bit.
I picked Janaya.
Janaya, you have good people to talk with. I need you to get actively involved in the conversation, okay? Because y'all as a group are coming up with ideas. Share your group's ideas. Okay? What are y'all's predictions? I don't see anything written down.
I wrote mine.
You haven't written anything for that box plot? No. Excuse me, sir. I told y'all to do the mean and median for all three of them. Oh, no. Mean and median. We'll talk about it, but I need mean and median predictions for both of them. Are you talking to your group? So remember, what do these lines mean? Right here. What does this line mean? That's the what? Not the very bottom row.
If my sister's attack me.
Where's your previous notes? Why would they be behind this lesson? The lowest line is the what? And what's the second line? And what's the third one? Oh. Come on, alright, we're going to get started because we already have an answer here for most of these. So, right here, the mean, well, we didn't label it